All right, Brett, we're back. Episode 8, Between the Tusk. Calling this one. Calling this one.
Episode 8. How do we get here so
Yeah.
fast, Chris?
I'm calling this one Road to Omaha.
Question mark.
I've been the one trying my best to hold the crack open in that door for us to hold a regional. Is it time for me to let go?
I don't think so. I think it may obviously not getting it done on Saturday at Mizzou kind of makes it a little more difficult. We're sitting on 11. You sent me an interesting stat over the weekend because we had spoken last week about 18 kind of being that magic number, and it turns out only gives you about a 50-50 chance, kind of depending on other factors. 19 is the magic number. Which means we'd have to go 8-1 down the stretch, which is a bit of a stretch for this team, given how we play on Sundays. But I still think there's a chance. Yeah, it depends on a lot of dynamics. There are like 4 teams I think were grouped together at 11 and 10, and Ole Miss is one of them who we got this week. Florida is ahead of it, and of course they swept us at our place, so that's. If we're on the line and we're both up for a host seed and we're the last 2 standing, then clearly that's not going to break the Hogs' way. But in the projections that I saw earlier this week, they showed Ole Miss still hosting. So I think it's open, but I think they got to close like a racehorse here in the last 3 weekends.
Well, let's talk about that because. I mean, I don't want to spend just a whole lot of time on the Missouri series. Missouri's not a good team, whatever. But again, you just mentioned it a minute ago, that lack of closing mentality and playing well on a Sunday or some cases Saturday to either sweep the series like in Missouri, or heck, let's go ahead and close out a series and get a 2-3 series win.
Yeah, that was obviously a problem against Georgia, which is even more frustrating when it's at home.
Yeah.
Like, on the road, but and really against Bama, when we did get it done, it really took Bama kind of crap in the bed for it to happen, and we still had to get the timely hit, and we did. But Mizzou Saturday was real frustrating. Felt like we had a beat on that kid and just couldn't take patient, good at bats. Pitching was not great for the Hogs, but it wasn't terrible. It was Sunday-ish, It's like you kind of expect to be able to slug out a win, but to drop 6-1 and have that one come in late, never really be competitive in the game was pretty disappointing to say the least. And it goes to that you mentioned that we were talking earlier, that killer mentality of, had a chance at Auburn, didn't do it. Had a chance at home against Georgia, didn't do it. Had a chance just recently at Mizzou to pull off a pretty critical sweep.
Yeah, really needed it.
And just came out flat. The Hogs played today against Northwestern State and, scratched got a win, but, man, they came out flat. Just taking bad at bats. And so this team still is lacking consistency. I think, we spoke a few weeks ago about, what does this team do well? What is the identity? What are they going to come up with? How are we going to identify as a team this year? I think gritty is maybe the best we can come up with right now. I think, on the less than generous side, you would say sloppy. But they don't show that grit all the time, so they're inconsistent with it.
Well, like I said, I didn't want to spend just a lot of time on Missouri. I did kind of want to talk about just the lack of being able to have that killer instinct and close out. We got Ole Miss coming into Fayetteville, so Ole Miss is they're kind of limping. They're limping over the past week. Dropped kind of it's a in-state Mississippi State weird in-state week matchup.
Yeah, the Governor's Cup midweek.
Game. Dropped 2 out of 3 over the weekend, so they're on a 3-game losing streak. So, Ole Miss, Arkansas baseball has become a pretty fun rivalry. So they would come in here anyway fired up, but I just feel like they're going to really come in here this weekend now, coming off a 3-game losing streak.
they're desperate, and that's what you don't want to go up against when the team's pretty darn good. You know, you've got the two longest tenured coaches in the conference going head to head. I think they have established a friendship and certainly a respect over the years, kind of
Mhm.
like Broyles and Royal back in the '60s and '70s of like mutual disdain but mutual respect and a kind of a weird friendship almost between the two head coaches. The programs do not like one another,
Nope.
ever have, never will. Um, but Ole Miss comes in, like you said, kind of desperate. They won a game they shouldn't have won against Georgia. That saved them from getting swept.
Correct. Correct.
Should talk about grit. I mean, they were down what 8-0, came back to win that game. Hell of a catch in left field to seal it, which was definitely top 10 worthy. But then fall flat, the next game, and then like you mentioned, drop that game on Tuesday
Mm.
in Pearl against Mississippi State. So looking for wins. They're on the hosting side of that line. They're trying to preserve their spot. We're trying to take it from them. Motivational speeches in baseball aren't the same as they are in football or basketball, but if you want a little extra thing to needle screw, twist the screws a little bit further, being able to take it from Ole Miss sure would be nice.
Yeah, and so let's talk about. So this is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, yeah, we're back on schedule the
Yeah.
rest of the year.
Yep. Dietz and Gibler, we know what's coming down the pipe there. Um, what does Ole Miss's Friday and Saturday starters look like in comparison
So
to Dietz and Cole?
yeah, so they had their schedule get flip flopped. Neither team have fully announced their starters for the week. I think we can pretty well assume for Hogs it'll be Dietz and Gibler, given the extra day of rest for both.
Mm-hmm.
Hunter Elliott and Cade Townsend are their two studs. Townsend's a real lockdown guy. I was looking at his numbers earlier. He's got an ERA under 2.5, an ERA, a WHIP under 1,
Mm.
strikeout rate greater than 1 per inning. He's got about 12 per 9 strikeout rate. I mean, he's good. What can you say? Power righty. And then you got Hunter Elliott, kind of a stock lefty. Throws strikes. His ERA is near 5. A WHIP a little bit south of 1.5, which is kind of like the line of demarcation in college ball. If you're under 1.5, you're throwing pretty well. Another good strikeout pitcher. Um, you know, Ole Miss kind of looks like Ole Miss. They've got a couple of studs on the mound. They can mash. Um, they are just a good all-around baseball team. I mean, it is frustrating because one of the reasons this rivalry has been so good is oftentimes it's like looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
And this year
Not this year.
for us, it's looking in the mirror on a 3-day bender, no shower. It's just we look not as good as they do. Tristan Becerra is their main offensive threat, and he is a threat. He's got 19 homers. He's got 320 batting average or better. Just his OPS is over 1100, I think. Like he's a machine, and it kind of in that mold that they produce down in Ole Miss. And so you got others like Judd Udermark, I think is how you pronounce his name. Another power guy, 17 homers. He's just a big kid. They're all big. Becerra is the transfer though from Clemson who came in and has kind of established himself. He's one of those guys that he's a senior, so he's going to lack some leverage in the draft. But if he were a junior, he'd be in the top 15 picks probably in the draft.
Okay.
He's just got that sort of skill set and production in college this year. He would definitely be a much higher pick in the draft if he were a junior, if he had more leverage.
Yeah. What does their Sunday look like? Do they have a designated Sunday starter, or
It's been looking. It looks like they kind of rotate through. They don't have. They've got two guys. Just pulled up their stat sheet. They got two guys that have, Elliott and Townsend, who have only been starters all year.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest they kind of cycle through. I mean, you may see Taylor Rabe come in, you may see Hudson Calhoun, who pitched out of the bullpen last week, but 4 inning guy, so he can obviously get you. It looks like they may go more with an opener than with a stock Sunday guy. You look at a guy, Will Libert. He's another guy who's got 6 starts on the year. So he may be the guy they turn to on Sunday. Maybe Calhoun, who's starting to get more action. Maybe Ray. Just I think kind of like with what Dave is going to do. It depends on what Friday and Saturday look like.
Yeah, and we're clearly seeing who Dave is going to trot out there.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
order may be a little different, but we're seeing the names, right? We're seeing the same names over and over.
Last week it was Teague, and he was fine to start out. He's just, I think Teague, or I'm sorry, I said Teague, Tate McGuire. He's is what he is. Serviceable. He's not going to blow you away, but when he's spotting up, he's pretty dang good. But he doesn't have the power fastball, and as a right-handed pitcher in this league, if you're not throwing
Yeah.
95 on a regular basis, folks are going to get you unless you're incredibly gifted at trading at changing speeds, which Tate can if that sliders bites. But if it's not, he's pretty much a replacement level player. So Fisher pitched today against Northwestern State. Pitched well. I think if you wanted to go with that opener route, so you get 9 outs basically, unless 9 outs or 3 runs, whichever come first, depending on the circumstances in the game. And Coyle is another one that has started a couple of times, maybe just once this year. But if you go with that opener mindset, just get me 2 or 3 innings, please,
Right.
and hope the offense does something. I could see something like that happen on Sunday. We'll be surprised if Dave announces a Sunday starter tomorrow.
Yeah. I think it's pretty safe to say we're still going to see Dave scratch and claw any way to get some runs across the board, right? Whether it's running. I mean, you see Mike Anu up there who one at bat swings it to the fence. The very next at bat, he lays a bunt down, right?
Yeah.
It seems like Dave is man, we're just going to scratch and claw and just try to get across the plate any way we can.
Well, and he loves guys like that. I mean, that's the thing. That's like Dave. If you go back 20 years, he was it was whatever it took to score kind of guy. We had power guys, we had hit and run, we had stolen bases, we had the bunt. We had all things at our arsenal, and Dave adapted to modern ball with more power hitting, adapted to the ballpark, where left field can be a real power alley. And now with the Hunt Center, right field plays a little truer. So I think you can just tell he's adapted, but I bet in his heart of hearts, I bet if you asked him, do you prefer kind of that hybrid whitey ball, gorilla ball? He would say, yeah, I would prefer that than just being an Earl Weaver and waiting on the 3-run homer. Whenever it's funny, you can tell his body language too. Like when he's on, when the wheels are in motion, he's on the top step. He's adjusting his glasses, and he's kind of, he's talking to Nate constantly. Like there's just a lot. He's very engaged in those moments. It's fun to watch. It's definitely like a Wayback Machine for Dave whenever we're in a situation like that.
Well, Ole Miss, to keep hopes alive, you got to at least take 2 out of 3 at home. I realize it's a good team. They're coming in. They're going to be fired up. Really need to take 2 out of 3. And, we get this a little more here in a few minutes. I mean, at some point, if you don't take 2 out of 3 here and you drop another series, are you in danger of losing even that 2 seed?
Man, I think it would take a real undoing to get there. That said, from if Arkansas were to drop to the three line, I don't think it would affect a whole lot other than
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right, actually.
you're playing as a visiting team that first game in the regional, which I think of all the games in the regional, the first and the last are the ones where you want to be the home team. Um, but I think that's marginal. This team plays well on the road. One of the few SEC teams in that mid pack with a winning road record. I think 11-10 on the year right now, so just
Yeah, and I
above, but
saw I
above.
saw Ole Miss is under 500 on the road. So
Yeah, yeah. Um, so it's a team that maybe more. We talked about this, I think, last week or week before, about how Baum is a real advantage when you're doing well, but it can probably feel like it's against you when you're struggling as a hog. Your team last year, this team was dominant at home.
hmm
Um, I mean, when Arkansas drew a top eight seed, you just kind of like, all right, well, let's go ahead and get our tickets to Omaha
yeah,
because you just knew. I mean, you just knew. Um, it would not be the case this year. I would personally, selfishly, living up here, I would love to have a home regional. For this team to advance, it may be better go on the road.
well, let's dig into a little bit. You've pulled up a few here from Baseball America D1. Um, a little. I mean, you're seeing some of the same teams, same
Mm-hmm.
um, regions. Even though we saw the Oregon State, but we saw something similar before. I think it is interesting that I think overall in baseball in doing the regionals, they try to do a good job to keep people close, right? I mean, I think that's
Yeah.
why historically we've seen Southwest Missouri State and Dallas Baptist
Well,
and
yeah. Last year we had both Creighton and Kansas
yeah,
at Baum.
um,
The regional teams. A few years ago when we went on the road, we went to Stillwater. Like I think that
yeah,
is what they try to do more in baseball. It's weird. They're trying to split that 7-10. Because you want to. They basically rate all of the top 32 teams and try to align 1 versus 32 and 2 versus 31 and down the middle. But there is that then they account for regionality. Like if you look at the bracket here, Baseball America is really leaning into trying to make the numbers work as closely as possible. Put when you're setting up the grid of 1 versus 32, you want the top two seeds to equal the number of 33. So you look at the Oregon State regional rather. That's what Baseball America's metric is.
yeah,
Uh,
and I mean both of those there. You see that?
yeah, but D1 it's not quite on that number, and it's because they think well Arkansas will travel to Nebraska, Lincoln will be sold out.
Yep.
Great for the gate, great for the storyline of Dave bringing a team back to Nebraska for the first time in
Which was
postseason.
a lot of fun. Let's be frank.
Yeah, I mean, and then we punched out Nebraska in 21. So there's just a lot of good storylines, and the D1. See, I think this is interesting how the two different services go about these. I feel like D1 leans in more into the rhetoric and like the storyline, the
Mm.
narrative, and so you got the Dave going to Nebraska, and then if we beat Nebraska, then we're taking on A&M most likely in an inter-conference series. SEC team that we didn't face and won't face this year unless we see them in Hoover. And then if Nebraska were to win, A&M took Trev Alberts as their AD, a great Nebraska defensive end. Like
Man,
there's storylines at play there that you
there's a,
can.
there's a ton of storylines actually there with D1 baseball.
Yeah, and then you look below at some of the others, and Arkansas versus Kent State. Hello, rematch from Omaha. Like that would be a huge one as well. But then you go to Baseball America. It's much more analytical. It's
Mm.
like, all right, well, these numbers match. This works here, and you know, I think if you gave me the choice, I'd choose D1.
100% for me.
Because if Georgia were to win that region, man, I don't want to go to their little bandbox and play. Not at all. would like a shot at them after they put up 11 runs or 12 runs in the ninth
I
a few
would,
weeks
but
ago.
if that's going to happen, I would prefer that be in Omaha and not in
Yeah,
their little
yeah,
park where they got 7 guys who can just mash.
yeah, exactly. And the thing is, if I'm Georgia, by the way, looking at this Baseball America chart or projection, man, that's brutal. Campbell is a historic program. Historic. They're a competitive program year over year. They are one of the better, if not
Mm,
one of the top 10 mid majors year
mm,
over year.
mm-hmm.
You bring in TCU. Hello, they beat the Hogs
Yep.
this
Yep.
year. Miami felt like they should have been in Omaha last year. Maybe a bit of a vengeance tour this year. ACC definitely down. I think SEC is down. Like I don't know that that's a walkover for Georgia at all. And then if you're Oregon State, you really want to see the Hogs and Santa Barbara coming to town. You know, UCSB quietly one of the best programs on the West Coast the last 10 years. Uh, that's pretty tough. I mean, college baseball is at its highest level in our lifetime. Uh, those are loaded. You know, you got 6 teams, maybe 7 that you could point to. Like, I wouldn't be floored if they won that region.
Well, quite frankly, if you're any one seed, are you going to be happy if you get Arkansas as your 2 seed?
No,
I
no,
mean,
not at
that
all.
would honestly that would suck.
Yeah, and especially if the Hogs, let's say, all right, let's start gaming this out. Hogs are 11-10 right now. You know, 18 is like the threshold. You get to 18, you got a coin flip chance of hosting. Let's say, you know, 2 out of 3 at home this week. OU and Kentucky are both reeling. Maybe you catch lightning in a bottle. Don't have any midweek games. Bullpen's fully rested and ready to rock. You go out and you sweep OU to end the series, end the season at home, and then finish up the SEC at Kentucky. Take them out. You're sitting at 18. Um, what if you're the ninth? What if you're the 17th team? Uh, you're coming in hot,
Yeah.
coming in with a little bit of the red ass, and you're coming in playing good ball. I would not want to see them. I would
Nope.
want to see Arkansas as my 2 if that's the case.
No.
And that's a plausible situation. Even if the Hogs go, let's say they go 6-3 over the next 3 weeks, they're sitting at 17. What if you go? What if you win your first 3 in Hoover, and all of a sudden you're a semifinalist for the tournament, and now you're at 20
Yeah.
SEC wins on the year, counting the tournament. What does that do? Your RPI is definitely going to be a top 20. So, like, there are a lot of scenarios where this turns well for Arkansas. We said going into Georgia that the Bulldogs were the most difficult um, team left on the schedule. Proved to be so. Went
Yeah.
to Missouri, slept walk through Saturday, but were able to get 2 road wins, which are never easy. Now you get Ole Miss at home. I don't know. This team's weird. It would not surprise me to see them break even the rest of the way, and it wouldn't surprise me to see them go 7-2 or 8-1.
Well, and quite frankly, did any of us see sweeping Bama at the time?
Right. Especially the way they were playing and the way
Yeah.
we were playing. You know, we had just gone to Auburn and lost. And, you know, they had just gone to OU and taken 2 out of 3 on the road because a team at the time that we were looking at OU thinking, okay, OU's an Omaha type team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, at the time, definitely would not have expected those wins at Bama.
Well, moving forward, really need you drop the C's versus Ole Miss. You're reeling. OU is another reeling team,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about that one next week. Um, the momentum of taking 2 or 3 from Ole Miss would just be
Yeah.
huge.
I think you see. So one thing that is good for the Hogs, get the extra day off. Kind of glad that the Tuesday game got rained out. So bullpen is a little fresher. McElwain got to pitch today. Coyle pitched today. Guys who probably we might not have seen, especially if you rip through the Northwestern bullpen on Tuesday. You may not see him at all on Wednesday because there's just no need. So probably a good thing. We'll want to see with the reports tomorrow. Cam a little dinged up on a collision at home, and what I was certain was obstruction. They called him safe anyhow, but certain that was obstruction by the catcher for the Demons. But that we'll make sure Cam's all right. How we can with an offensive team or the team that is struggling offensively. Man, you cannot lose.
You can't lose
main cog, or one of your main cogs anyway. So yeah, it kind of feels trite to say, but it's nevertheless true. Avoiding injury, avoiding prolonged slumps at this point for anybody in the season. It seems reasonable to think that they would be able to take those 2 out of 3. I think that could be a springboard. But baseball is also weird, man. Like, what if it's like last weekend? What if grit out a tough Friday win, walk over Saturday feeling pretty good about yourselves, and then you just fall asleep on Sunday?
Yep.
Like you've lost all your momentum. I think if you win 2 out of 3, the sequencing of those 2 matter a lot. And then because you don't have any other games until next Friday.
Until
So
you
really don't want to come out and lay an egg on Sunday, even if you lose a tough one. I'd rather lose a tough one and just have the guys just be champing at the bit to get to OU than just lay an egg and just play like crap and have to sit on that all week.
Well,
it'd be nice if Chris, I think if looking for one thing that could maybe solidify this kind of potential path to host, or at least even if you're not hosting, just getting hot at the right time and really being a nightmare for somebody else's region, is find somebody to jump up and say, you know what, I want to pitch on Sundays. Like, that's what would be great. It's just saw one cat come out and say, Sunday is going to be my day. We've been waiting, thought it was fish, obviously, for a good long while. Cycled through a handful of guys. I kind of thought Tate might snag that. He still may, but I just don't know that we've seen enough to make me or anyone, most importantly Hobbs, think that he can do it. But who's going to be that dude that says, you know what, I want the ball on Sunday, Skip. I'll get you everything I got. You can count on me. Is it Gabe? I don't think so. I think we've seen at this point he just is a 2-3 inning guy.
Yeah.
Which is wild, but I think that's maybe where we are. Especially if he could come in and close down the game on Friday or Saturday. That's more valuable than banking on Sunday. I don't know. That's something that I think we should all be looking at over the next 3 weekends. Who's going to step up and be the third? Because you got to have 3. You just have to. In the postseason, you have to have 3.
Well, take the under on Friday.
I think so. Yeah. It's gonna be cooler too. Friday's gonna be kind of a cool night. Temperatures in the low 60s to start, be in the mid 50s by the end of the game. Definitely, and then Saturday and Sunday are day games, 2:00 both, which will be good because it's gonna be chilly up here in the Ozarks over the weekend, much more so than you would expect for the first weekend in May. So I would definitely go under on Friday, and only a fool will take the under on Sundays in this league.
You going to be at all 3?
No, be at 1 for sure, maybe 2. We got obligations on Saturday, but that doesn't mean I won't be watching. That's for sure. I'll take the heat.
Well, all right, brother. Until next week, go Hogs.
Go Hogs.